This is Jamila Watkins with the City of Detroit Office of Contracting and Procurement. This is the pre-bid conference for RFP 184881 for the Construction and Demolition Department Environmental Services Due Diligence RFP. I'm going to share my screen. And I have let's see. Is everyone able to see my screen? Nick,
Yes.
I can.
Yep.
You can see. So you see my PowerPoint here?
Yeah. Not a PowerPoint. I see.
You see the RFP?
RFP. Yes.
Okay, let me then I'll move it over. Do it like that.
Yep. I
Okay,
can
do
see
you
it
see it?
now.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so this is my PowerPoint. So again, today is the 11th. I'm Jamila Watkins. This is the website for suppliers. Any questions that you have, we'll go over that at the end, where it will need to be submitted through the portal, not directly to me or to the department. Today's agenda, we're just going to do introductions. So again, I'm Jamila Watkins, who is just speaking is Nick Payne. He will introduce himself from the Construction and Demolition Department. Just going to overview the conference call. We'll go over the RFP a little bit, go over the timeline and key response items. Then I'm going to turn it over to Nick. I won't have you long. So this call is being recorded. If you do have a question, please state your name and your organization. You're encouraged to ask questions during the allotted period. You can also enter them into the chat. And if there's questions that you come up with after today's call, please submit them through the supplier portal. All questions, please mute yourself. All questions are going to be published as well as answers so that everyone can be on the same page. There is a questions due date. I'll go over that in a moment. Yep, and there's that. Okay, so project background. The City of Detroit Office of Contracting and Procurement, on behalf of the Construction and Demolition Department, requests proposals from qualified respondents to render certain technical or professional services as set forth in this RFP to provide environmental services at various locations throughout the city. This is probably irrelevant, so I'm going to go away from that. Project timeline overview. I just basically pasted from the first page of the RFP the key dates that remain. So questions are going to be due Tuesday, July 16th on or before 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All questions must be submitted online in our supplier portal. Please also make sure when you're using the portal that your portal is set for Eastern Standard Time. I believe that the default is universal time, and a lot of people kind of get hung up on that, and it can create problems. So make sure your portal is set for Eastern Standard Time. That's important for the questions due as well as for the proposals. Answers will be distributed by Friday the 19th if possible, maybe before. If we need additional time, we'll let you know. And proposals are going to be due Tuesday, July 30th by 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you are not registered as a supplier, if you have any questions or difficulty or need assistance with navigating the portal, you can actually put your information into the chat. I will get you in touch with our e-procurement team and they can assist you with supplier registration and portal navigation. Just so you're aware, the work will commence that's pending City Council approval, and then of course being issued a PO. So we don't have a hard and fast schedule. It's up to how things proceed along. There's several levels of approval. And then once the contracts are fully approved, you'll then be issued a PO. And at that point, you'll be able to begin work, not anytime before then. Just quickly, this is another paste from the RFP document itself. This is the required proposal content and format. I'm just going to quickly pull that up. That is on page, what is that? I just passed it. Page 10 of 15, but all of these items are also listed in the RFP attachments list, which is on, I think, the last page of the RFP. I've highlighted in red everything that's going to need to be returned by any bidder. Everything in black is these are scopes that you're going to have to reference and, of course, read and fully understand in order to submit your proposal. So at this point, I'm going to stop sharing and hand it over to Nick, and he was going to go into more detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamelia. And good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nick Payne. I'm Planning and Strategy Manager within the Construction Demolition Department. As Jamila mentioned, this is our RFP to solicit qualified vendors to perform all environmental due diligence activities in order for our department to perform safe and compliant demolitions, renovations, and other maintenance activities across the city of Detroit. In terms of minimum qualifications, to be qualified under this RFP, you must have the following. You must have 5 years of experience providing environmental services of a similar scope and size. You must also provide 5 professional references of your previous experience performed within the last 5 years of the RFP. Regarding personnel, your company must employ all qualified personnel to perform and execute any and all aspects of these services. But at minimum, your company must provide on your staff roster 1 certified building inspector, 1 professional engineer or licensed architect, and 2 state of Michigan accredited asbestos inspectors with 1 year of recent full-time experience in the surveying and inspection of sites for asbestos containing materials and other hazardous and regulated materials. And recent in this definition is defined as within the last 3 full calendar years. In addition, your company must have or have a relationship with a accredited lab. With your RFP submission, please include your National Voluntary Laboratory Accreditation Program, or NVLAP, accreditation for the lab that you plan on using when performing services under this RFP. In addition, you must demonstrate that you provide and possess extensive knowledge of all federal, state, and local regulations as it is related to the surveying and inspection of facilities for asbestos-containing materials and other hazardous regulated materials. This shall include, but is not limited to, AHERA, NESHAP, MIOSHA, OSHA, NIOSHA, NAREPA, and RCRA. The valuation for this RFP, or we intend for the contracts under this RFP to be issued for 3 years, and we're seeking to make 4 awards as the result of this RFP. However, we do reserve the right to award as many or as few awards at our sole discretion upon review of your applications. Each application will be reviewed on the following criteria. Your previous experience and references will be weighted 30 points. The scope of services offered will be worth 20 points. Your capacity will be worth 10 points, and your price will be worth 5 points. And we'll briefly go over in a minute the documentations that will be used to perform this evaluation. So as you open up the RFP documents that Jamelia shared, they're kind of divided into 2 main categories. You have your exhibits, which we provide for your information and review. And then we have your attachments, which are documents that we do expect be completed and included in your RFP submission. So first, going over at a high level, we included 7 sample scope of services of the type of work that may be assigned under this RFP. The first being residential hazardous regulated material due diligence, post-abatement verification services, residential engineering services, commercial water-related services, soil testing and analysis for the purpose of disposal, hazardous material debris removal, and ground penetrating radar. But please note, we do reserve the right to add or modify any of these scopes at any point in time These are just examples to give respondents an opportunity to see the type of work that we may be assigning under these contracts. It's important to note that all services under this contract applies to both residential and commercial properties within the city. Um, so if you see one of the scopes slated towards residential, we do have a accompanying commercial scope that we would use when issuing services under this RFP. Next, and I'm going to share my screen real quick for these. We'll go over some of the attachment documents that you'll include with your submission. The first attachment, attachment A, is resumes or CVs of your company's leadership team. So for any individual that you believe will be in a leadership role under this RFP, whether that's your president, vice president, safety officer, project manager, etc., please provide a current and up-to-date resume or CV for that individual. Attachment B1 is we request an organizational chart of your company and how you are formatted. Please note on this section, you don't need to provide specific names for each individual. You may organize it based on job title and counts. And we do provide kind of a sample template within the RFP. For example, you can say you have 4 supervisors. Under that supervisor, you have 12 technicians, and under those 12 technicians, you have 12 apprentices, or however your company has organized itself. Attachment B2 is your staff roster. In this section, we will ask that you provide the name, title, years of experience, any accreditations, licenses, or certifications, and Detroit residency information for any individual that will be working under this RFP. Please note that this includes field staff as well as office staff of any individuals who will be responsible, for invoicing, project managing, as well as inspectors in the field who may be performing services or sampling, taking samples, or in the lab analyzing the results. So please provide a fairly comprehensive overview of who could be working under your company under this contract. Attachment C will be your reference sheet where you can provide up to 5 references. For each reference, please include the client's name, contract numbers if it's a City of Detroit contract, the term of the work that you performed, the service date and service end date, and the amount the contract was for. In addition, please provide a summary in row 12 of the services provided, as well as any citations or violations you may have received as the result of performing those services. Moving on to attachment D, this is services offered. We do understand that this might be kind of a broad attachment, so you may include several pages or a menu of options, but we are looking to solicit a comprehensive overview of all the services that your company may provide when evaluating your proposal under this RFP. And we do provide a list of items in this attachment that you may include if your company can offer them. Attachment E will be labor rates for the individuals or job titles you listed on your staff roster. Please provide their standard and overtime unit hourly rates for the purpose of billing. In addition, please provide your percentages or flat fees that your company would charge for any subcontracted services or on any parts, supplies, or equipment if they are purchased through this contract. Please note that this Excel document has 3 tabs for year 1, year 2, and year 3 of your contract. Please complete this information on each tab to create your fee schedule for each year of your contract, understanding it may go up or down as the contract progresses. And finally, we have attachment F, which is just our department's general affidavit that we require all of our respondents to sign. Basically, they're stating that they're authorized representative of their company and they understand the information that they're agreeing to in their submittal. Final information I had was this contract will be general funded or funded using dollars from the city's general fund. Currently, most of our contracts for asbestos and hazardous regulated material surveys are currently being funded by the proposal and bond dollars within the city or ARPA dollars received by the city. These contracts will not be funded by either. Rather, they'll be funded directly from the city's general fund. And final piece of information I wanted to share is we do intend for this work to be assigned under the quick quote format that we currently use under our current environmental supportive services contract. For all the vendors that are awarded work under this RFP, you'll be put essentially into a pool, and when services are required, we will post what we call a quick quote, which will provide you with a summary of the work we are requesting, a subsequent scope of work, as well as other information that we will ask that you populate and return along with your quick quote. Traditionally, that will be a price sheet, and I've included on sharing on my screen kind of a very vague sample price sheet that's very nondescript. But essentially, anywhere where you see a field highlighted in yellow, we will ask that you provide either a price, a schedule, or a subsequent piece of information and upload it with your quick quote for the purpose of assigning work. And the city will assign work at our sole discretion. We will assign work based on a variety of factors, but these factors may include the reasonableness of the awarded vendor's response and quick quote and pricing, any current and impending assignments, and available contract authority available on your current contract. I know I just kind of dumped a lot of information all at once, so I am going to pause and open it up for any questions that anyone may have at this time. I see a question in the chat. Do you have to bid on all services? It's not required, but it is definitely encouraged for vendors to participate on all solicitations that are posted under this contract. Yes.
Nick,
but it's not required.
Nick, what does category refer to specifically in attachment E for the labor rate fee schedule?
Let me pull that up so we all can look at it. Really, it's kind of a catch-all for you when you're organizing your labor rates. So category, I mean, we leave a lot of it up to your discretion, but if you want to mark, some companies like to mark whether it's a field staff, office staff, whether it's a supervisor role or inspector role. So you really can use it as you seem fit if you would like to use it for organizing the positions on your staff roster, if that makes sense.
Okay, I was wondering if it was specific to a work task. If you wanted to identify who the staff might be assigned to a particular activity.
Yeah, you may do it that way as well.
RFP.
Yep. Yeah, that would be fine too. But we did want to give everyone the flexibility to kind of organize it a little bit more than just based on job title. So if you don't feel like that applies to you, you can just put not applicable and just use the job title. But we find it helpful for companies to try to organize it in the way that they best seem fit.
Understood.
Are there any other questions? And like I said earlier, if you can't think of anything now, you can always submit your question through the supplier portal. So you don't have to have a question now. But we'll just give it a few more minutes.
I have a question, Nick. It's Ryan Jones with Aegis. Pertaining to the scope services for hazardous, like the debris removal scope item, basically, that's essentially, if we're understanding it correctly, removing debris piles that are assumed to contain asbestos. Is that accurate?
Yes, for that specific
and potentially
scope.
other regulated materials. So we're essentially, since most of us on this call, I believe, are consultants and engineering firms, we're going to have to add an abatement subcontractor of some sort, or a vendor that's licensed to do that work. Would it be considered a conflict to include a contractor who is working on other contracts with the city as an abatement contractor? Because it's the reason I ask, it's somewhat of a limited pool of resources.
So are you saying if you list a subcontractor of another contractor, your subcontractor would be a vendor who already has work contracted with the city? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying let's say we want to use I'm trying to think of an example and I can't think of a specific company, but
City abatement.
City abatement. We want to use city. Yeah, thanks, Craig. We want to use city abatement as our vendor for this contract. City abatement is providing abatement services on probably a dozen different demolition contracts as a sub to prime demolition contractors. Would that be considered a conflict for this service?
No, it would not.
Okay.
You definitely could use a vendor that's currently performing work within the city.
Okay.
So I see another question in the chat from Madison. And just let me pull up the RFP. So I'm looking at the specific section.
Yeah, I think that's like some standard language.
Yes, so that is standard information included on all of our RFPs. And to my knowledge, Jamila, correct me if I'm wrong, it's basically saying if you're awarded work, you'll use the kind of database that whatever the department requires.
Right.
And I can say for certain, our department primarily utilizes Salesforce. So if you're awarded work under this contract and you don't already have Salesforce access and account, we would work with you to get you set up into our system. And that's the platform that we would utilize for issuing quick quotes and tracking our work, and for you to submit any pre-invoice reviews. So essentially, summarizing that section is our department utilizes Salesforce, and we would expect, if awarded work, that you would create an account with us and utilize that as well.
Any other questions? Okay, well, I don't see anything else. So again, like I said, you can submit a question through Oracle. I'm gonna copy again in the chat the email address to our e-procurement team. As I mentioned earlier, they are able to assist you with supplier registration or supplier portal navigation. So if that's it, if we don't see any other hands or any other chats, I think we can wrap it up. Thank you everyone for attending. Thank you for your time. We look forward to receiving your proposals, and have a great afternoon. Did you want to say anything else in closing, Nick?
No, just thanks everyone for your time, and we look forward to hopefully working with you guys.
Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.